Gunjan, I think you can begin with it. We have 30 people on board. All right. So just give me 1 second. I'll be right back. Yeah. Okay. So hi everybody. Whosoever is here. So we'll wait till 5, then we'll start. Till everybody else is joining, I'll just set what we are going to do today. So most of our audience is first comprises of first years, and they might not know what exactly Git and GitHub is, and get very confused and probably a little overwhelmed too about this. But don't worry. So what we're going to do today is that Gunjan is going to walk you through what open source is, what GitHub is, and what Git is. So first, we're going to give you a basic overview as well as a demonstration of how you can use Git via command line. All right. And then I will be demonstrating how you can use all of those functionalities which Gunjan will be telling you by a user interface instead. There is an application called Github Desktop, and we'll also be using that. So for those who find the commands a little bit difficult and not be able to understand, what the what is happening, because you never even open the terminal or open the command prompt or done something like that. So don't worry about it. Just follow along, and I would suggest you to keep a notebook alongside, because it is going to be an informative and a very 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 loads of information is going to be thrown at you. So keep a notebook alongside. I'll be there in the chat. If there are any doubts, I'll be answering them in the chat. And Gunjan, over to you.
Okay, so hi everyone. I hope everyone has joined till now. So we'll be starting with the session in just 1 minute. Um,
Gunjan, I think we have 81 people. We can begin with it. No issues with that.
okay, surely. Okay, so I think this is a beginner friendly session for all those who are just in their first year and wanted to get started with open source. Like they have a lot of confusion regarding open source, Git, GitHub, and many other things which they are just struggling with. So let's get started with the basic terms first. So I'll be starting with just the terminology open source. So what is open source? Open source softwares we all have used somehow, and we don't even recognize them like they are open source. Basically, open source are some projects or some software that some organizations put up on their repositories, which they allow to access to other users. Like they are free, they can be accessible, they are timely changed, they have different versions, but they still are there. The code base is there on the internet, and usually we can use them, we can see them, we can develop it according to our own needs, we can reuse it, we can change it according to our ideas or our design or anything. We can do that with open source things. So, some of the examples that we have used till now are some of application software that are open source are Eclipse, Mozilla Firefox, OpenOffice, and some operating systems which we use in our day-to-day life like Linux, React OS, FreeDOS, Android. They all are open source. Like we have not imagined that their code base is provided to us on the internet. The programming languages such as PHP, Python, Ruby, they all are open source things. So that's some example of open source. Yeah, right, VLC media player. So there are code bases available on the internet, and we can use them, we can access it, and we can modify it according to our own needs. We can also suggest them changes that we want to do. So all these things are about open source and open source software. Next, we move to version control. So what is version control? let's start with a basic definition of version control. Git is an example of version control. So to understand it, we first have to understand what is version control. So version control allows us to revert files to previous state. Like we have made changes to a file and we don't want to save those changes. Like I have still saved my changes on some files and I don't want them to be still persistent and I want to go back to the previous state. So version control is something that allows us to do so even if we have saved our files. So we can revert the entire project back to the previous state. Like suppose there are different versions for any organization, like version 1, version 2, version 3, and we don't want like version 3 has some bugs or some errors in it, and people don't want to use version 3 and they want to go back to version 2. So version control allows us to go back to the previous state even if we have saved the files, even we have saved all the changes and hosted it. So it compare changes over time. Whatever changes I make in any file, it let me control those changes, like what are those changes and what we are doing. So we can see who modified what and much more with the help of version control. So it's truly a blessing in developers day or developers life. Like we want to do many things, we want to make changes, we want to host our websites and all. So that's a truly commendable thing for all of us. So let's start with Git now. Okay, so what we use Git for? First of all, let's discuss about that. Git is used for individual development. We can develop our own project. We can collaborate through development using Git. Like we have a team, and okay, so okay. So I'm just introducing the basic theory. So I'll get a little slow now. Okay. So Git is also used for individual development. Like we want to create a project and we want to go through it. We want to make changes. We want to save our um, project somewhere, or we want to host it. So that's how Git is used. And for collaborative development, suppose we have a team, like we have a team of 4 people, and we want to work on the same project. Now what's there, if I work on any project and I made some changes, like I have changed a file, so I have to give that file again to another person that I have made these changes and you make the same changes in your project, so that there are no conflicts between us two. If we want to make changes on the same project, like we are working on a project and I change something and my partner changed something else, and we both have different projects now because I have worked on something else and she has worked on something else. So that creates conflict. So Git help us to manage those conflicts. The uh, it uh, it uh, usually accept all of the changes and merge it. Okay. So we can use it offline, just the Git part. We can, it is a command line interface, so
Okay,
we
let me
can use it.
simplify this a little. Let's just assume that there is this web application that we are going to build. Okay, I and Gunjan, we are working on a web application. Now, Gunjan has made the web application really nice. Sab chal raha hai, every button is working, and you can sign up, users can come in, सब कुछ proper चल रहा है. Then, Monday I come, मुझे बिल्कुल भी web development नहीं आता, and I come and I make a change in Gunjan's file that caused the main JavaScript file to be affected. Okay, now what happens whenever a user is visiting the website, उसे दिख रहा है कि यार ये वेबसाइट तो चल नहीं रही, गुंजन ने तो कहा था मैंने बहुत अच्छी वेबसाइट बनाई है, लेकिन ये तो वेबसाइट नहीं चल रही, गुंजन को कुछ आता ही नहीं है. Then to prevent Gunjan from hitting me with a brick, this version control is used. Because what version control actually does is, जो version गुंजन ने तैयार करा था ये वापस उस पे आपको लेके जा सकता है. So that is basically why we are using this Git system. I would call it a system. Why we're using this particular thing? If we make a mistake, if something is not ready to be sent to the users, और वो किसी ने change कर दिया है, तो आपका सारा काम खराब ना हो जाए. That is why we are using this. So to prevent your teammates from actually beating you, this is one thing that we use. Please continue, Gunjan.
Okay, so I have a doubt in the chat box. Like, okay. So it's like, why not copy our code and send to other team partners? How many times you are gonna copy your code and send to your team partners? Like if you made a small change and you are have to inform the other person that I have made just a small change. So how many times you are gonna copy your code and send to your team partners? Like it is gonna cost you a lot of time to just send your code again and again, and there is not just one file for a code, there are many files that you have to change. So that's why Git help us to manage all those works, all those tasks. It help us to prevent that headache of copying all our code, sending all the files again and again.
And there
And
is also one magical thing that Git does. So what it does is, okay, let's assume that you both are working in the same file. There is this one main file that you are using. Let's say that you are JavaScript developers. Okay, so you are working on one file. Now you are writing the code for let's say Tushar. Okay, Tushar is there, right? So Tushar is writing the code for adding a feature where the user can sign up on the website. All right. While Gunjan is writing a code to create a toggle button wherein जैसे उसको प्रेस करेंगे तो आपका जो वेबसाइट है वो डार्क मोड और लाइट मोड में चेंज हो सकता है. नाउ दे आर वर्किंग ऑन टू सेपरेट थिंग्स. अब टू सेपरेट थिंग्स में गुंजन को तुषार को कॉल करना पड़ेगा कि भाई रुक जा, पहले मैं आई पुट द कोड, पहले मैं अपना कोड डालती हूँ फिर उसके बाद तू डालियो. अभी तो आपको ये छोटा छोटा चीज लग रहा है कि लाइक अच्छा हाँ कोई बात नहीं कॉल कर लेंगे, but when you're working with a team of big, a huge team, then this thing becomes very difficult. So the term conflicts that Gunjan was using, वो यही चीज था कि आपको ये सब चेंजेस जो है ये चेंजेस एक दूसरे के ओवरलैप ना करे, कि अगर गुंजन और तुषार एक साथ भी अपने चेंजेस डाल रहे हैं तो वो दोनों चेंजेस एक साथ रिफ्लेक्ट हो जाए, रादर देन किसी को किसी का वेट करना पड़े. Also about the big file thingy. So when you'll be working more on it, सिर्फ node modules का folder जो होता है वही it is in GBs. So इतना आप अगर Gmail से ट्रांसफर करेंगे, it's going to take too much of your internet, and your Wi-Fi is going to say भाई मैं नहीं कर रहा, तुम देख लो, I'm gonna go away. So that is also one reason. Yeah, Kunjan, please continue.
yeah, correct. So a Git is very like handy tool to use because it's offline, it's local, it's on your own PC, and you have all your files on your own PC. You can change, your teammates can change, and this is not gonna make you wait or gonna create any conflict. So it creates snapshots for your any changes that you commit, and it just let you handles everything very easily. It's distributed, it's not centralized that you have to wait for one person to commit a change and then you are gonna change on it, like Pujadi just said. You have like a distributed system, you can work on it every, you can work on everything separately. Like you don't have to wait for anybody, or you don't have to call someone कि तू रुक जा मैं कर रही हूँ, ऐसा कुछ नहीं होगा. Just with the use of Git and GitHub. So the basic workflow of GitHub is consist of three stages. Like when you are in the working directory, when you are in the staging area, and when you are in the Git directory. We will look at them separately, like just every term with detail. What is the working directory? Okay, so when I'm talking about the working directory, it's on your own local computer. Working directory is something that you are gonna modify, you are gonna change on your own local PC, on your own desktop, anything. That's our local working directory. Then there comes a staging area. Okay, so when I want to add my files to a staging area, like I worked on some files, so how am I gonna save those changes? Like they reflect on GitHub. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna add them to the staging area. Staging area lets just hold your files, and it just lets you push all your codes, like add all your codes in a staging area where from where you can commit them. You can't commit your files without adding them to the staging area. So that's another point about staging area. So you have to stage the files. That means you're adding snapshots, you are adding your changed code to your staging area. Then comes the Git directory or the repository from where you are working. So when you commit those changes, it gets added to your repository permanently. Like you can't then be very what you say confused about what to push and what to not push. That you will handle very easily when you are staging them to the repository. Like if you have changed two files, let's say I have changed a javascript file and I have changed an index file. Now what I want, I want to add just one file to the staging area, and I want to work on other. I want to prevent other file from going to the staging area in the same folder. Suppose I'm working on a project and I have changed two files, but I want to just add one file. So what we gonna do? We're gonna add just one file to the staging area. Git allows us to use that option too. So that means we can still work on the other file and add one file at a time. So that's totally that Git allows you to do. So when we do a commit, it stores snapshot permanently to your Git directory.
ओके नाउ फॉर दोज जिनके सर के ऊपर से बात गई है कि हुआ क्या था, व्हाट डिड गुंजन से. सो शी एक्सप्लेन थ्री थिंग्स. फर्स्ट शी एक्सप्लेन द वर्किंग डायरेक्टरी. सिंपल टर्म्स में दो ही वर्ड्स है इसके अंदर, वर्किंग एंड डायरेक्टरी. डायरेक्टरी को इजीली आप फोल्डर से भी समझ सकते हैं, वर्किंग जिसमें आप काम कर रहे हैं. तो इन वेरी सिंपल टर्म्स जिस फोल्डर पर आप काम कर रहे हैं वो आपका वर्किंग डायरेक्टरी हो गया. अब बात आती है स्टेजिंग एरिया क्या है. स्टेजिंग एरिया को आप ऐसे समझ सकते हैं कि आपने सपोजिटली कुछ फाइल बनाया. ओके आप एक वेबसाइट पे काम कर रहे हैं, आपने index.html बनाया और वहां पर आपने लिख दिया कि पूजा दीदी इज वेरी नाइस. ओके, थैंक यू सो मच. सो यू रोट पूजा दीदी इज वेरी नाइस इन योर index.html फाइल. अब गिट को कैसे पता चलेगा कि यार उसे वो फाइल में देखना है कि चेंजेस हो रहे हैं नहीं हो रहे हैं. तो आप इस फाइल को अपने स्टेजिंग एरिया पे डालेंगे ताकि जो आपका गिट है वो देखे कि हाँ उस फाइल में क्या चल रहा है. मेक सेंस? सो गुंजन, मेक सेंस? गिव मी अ नोट इफ इट मेक सेंस. Yeah, okay, it does. So yeah, so staging area पे क्या होता है, staging area पे वो वाले files पड़े होते हैं जिसको Git observe कर रहा होता है. Think of it as a room wherein Git is sitting with a hat on and a stick there कि अच्छा देखता हूँ मैं files क्या क्या कर रहे हैं. So staging area is somewhat like that. आपके जो भी files के changes आपको observe करवाने होते हैं, आप पहले उसे अपने वर्किंग डायरेक्टरी यानी कि जिस फोल्डर में आप काम कर रहे हैं वहां से वो स्टेजिंग एरिया में जाता है. एंड देन फाइनली जब अब आपको लगता है कि हाँ ठीक है मेरा सब काम हो चुका है, अब वो फाइल स्टेजिंग एरिया से मैं अपनी जो ओरिजिनल रिपोजिटरी है वहां पर डाल देती हूँ. मेक सेंस? ओके, परफेक्ट. ओवर टू यू गुंजन.
Okay, so then when we are adding our files to the repository, like just Pooja Didi explained. So when then we can check out to any other version, as I have told before too. We can make any sort of changes, we can stage them and we can commit them. Like Git is a like playground where we can play along with things, we can play along with commands, and we can do things according to our own need. So that's a small introduction about Git. Okay, so when we are done with the all the explanation and all the theories, now we can install Git by there are various commands, there are various links that are available on the internet to download it on Windows, to download it on Mac, and if someone is using Ubuntu or Fedora or any other operating system, there are links for that too that are available. Once you install Git, you have two things, Git Bash, and there is the terminal, and we will be using Git Bash frequently.
Okay, again, let me just explain while Gunjan is setting up and sharing the screen what exactly she said. So for those who are absolutely new, because I'm assuming my audience is again from first years, so the words that she said, Fedora, Ubuntu, these are operating systems. Okay, these are different distributions of an operating system called a Linux. Like you use Windows, rich people use iOS. We don't. Sorry, we're very garib in that matter. So there are different operating systems that are being used. So we will be showing on Windows because we didn't have the funds to buy a Mac. If you want to install for your particular operating system, the same steps have to be followed, but आपको आपके ऑपरेटिंग सिस्टम का इंस्टॉलेशन का बटन दिखाएगा वो. In case you find installation a little difficult for your particular operating system, there are hundreds of videos available online, so you can follow that. Windows users can see it, and it's generally you have to leave it on default settings only. So I'm just assuming everybody can do the software installation part correctly. Gunjan is showing Windows वाला, वो देख लो, see exactly कि हो क्या रहा है. Okay, and the Git Bash that she mentioned, it is also another software that we are going to be installing today. Over to you, Gunjan.
Okay, so I am gonna just explaining the basic commands that we're gonna start with Git Bash. It is a command line interface. Command line interface is basically जहाँ पर हम commands लिखते हैं and we get some output out of that. So Git Bash is particularly used for Git and GitHub to manage the files and commit the things within Git and GitHub. So I'm just having Pooja di, it's visible.
Yes, it's visible. The font is a little small. We can't do anything about it, right? Can we?
Yeah, we
Oh
can.
yeah, we can. Great, perfect. Now it's awesome. Let me spotlight you.
Okay.
Okay, no, yeah,
So
okay,
yeah,
this is fine.
once you install Git Bash, you have to make certain configurations. Like it what it does कि ये आपका email address और आपका GitHub का यूजर नेम स्टोर कर लेगा आपके लोकल पीसी पर. तो जब भी आपको कुछ चेंजेस करने हो, लाइक आई हैव टू मेक सर्टेन चेंजेस ऑन माय रिपोजिटरी जो मेरे GitHub पे पड़ी है. सो हाउ डू गिट बैश नो कि वो उसे मेरी रिपोजिटरी में मेरे GitHub पे जाकर उसको उन फाइल्स को ऐड करना है. So for that, we have a config command, like we have a git config command, and we can set our global username. So like my GitHub username is this, so I'm just setting it to that. And once we have set, we can check it using just git config minus minus global username. So it will show me what my username is. Also, I can set my email. So it lets me add my email. I'm just adding some random email, so you just add your email which you have used with your GitHub account. So once I press enter, it will let me config my username and user email as them. And when we want to check them, we can just say user.name and user.email, and it will show you what you have typed or what you have set your username and email to. Okay. So
Gunjan, let me just confirm from the viewers if the font is visible to them, because my eyes are a
yeah, sure.
little weaker as compared. So I just want if everybody's comfortable with it. So please put it in the chat if the font is okay with you guys. You can just put a yes or a no in the chat, and if even one person is uncomfortable with it, we'll increase the size. Okay, thank you, Ashvi. I think it's fine. Okay, it's a bit blurry. Pranka, I think blurry thingy is like probably something from your end. Not very visible. Okay, we have one person, so Gunjan will increase it a little more. Okay, perfect. So we have yeah, perfect. Now I'm asking the next question. So if somebody is going to answer the previous question, do not answer it. Just stop. The chat can stop. Gunjan, a little more. Tia saying that she can't see it correctly. Little more. Okay. So have you all understood what the git config command does? If it's clear to you, please write a clear in the chat. If it's not clear to you, then we'll explain it again. Have you all understood what the git config command does? Oh, okay. Okay, that is a no. Fine. I'll reiterate over it once again. So the commands are there. It's git config hyphen global user dot name Gunjan dash g. That's her username. All right. So what this git config command is actually doing, there is a configuration file that Git has, and it has to basically recognize who the person is using. Like the git needs to understand that कौन use कर रहा है, उस बंदे का नाम क्या है, email क्या है. So we're simply doing that. We Gunjan just configured her username, so it's simple. The command is, we write git first. Okay, git is basically telling our command prompt to use git. ओके, देन क्या करवाना है हमें गिट से? कॉन्फ़िगरेशन करवाना है। फिर क्या कराना, हमें ग्लोबल फ्लैग यूज करना है टू मेक श्योर दैट इट इज अप्लाइड इन इट्स एंटायरिटी। ऑलराइट, फिर नेक्स्ट हमें क्या करना है, किस चीज को कॉन्फ़िगर करना है? कॉन्फ़िगर तो करना है, बट हमें किस चीज को कॉन्फ़िगर करना है? यूजर नेम को कॉन्फ़िगर करना है। तो यूजर डॉट नेम का मतलब ये होता है कि जो हमारा यूजर है उसका नाम हम दे रहे हैं, राइट? तो उसके बाद यूजर का नेम आ गया गुंजन डैश जी। सो शी कॉन्फ़िगर्ड इट। अब नेक्स्ट कमांड में उसने क्या करा, उसने चेक करा कि यार मैंने अपना नाम डाल तो दिया, अब देख लेती हूँ कि गिट को समझ आया या नहीं आया, राइट? सो शी व्हाट शी विल डू इज गिट कॉन्फ़िग हाइफन हाइफन ग्लोबल यूजर डॉट नेम। अगर यहाँ पर आपका कॉन्फ़िगर्ड नहीं होता तो इट वुड हैव शोन एन एरर। हाउएवर यहाँ पर गुंजन का नाम बिल्कुल सही डला हुआ है, देयरफॉर उसने आपको क्या एको करा, एको का, ओके, सो आई जस्ट, दिस इज वन स्मॉल टर्मिनोलॉजी दैट वी यूज विद टर्मिनल्स। सो एको का मतलब होता है रिस्पॉन्स जो आपका टर्मिनल आपको दे रहा है, राइट? सो यहाँ आई बी यूजिंग एको ओनली बिकॉज यू नीड टू बी familiar with these terminologies now. तो आपके टर्म, जब आपने कमांड डाला गेट कन्फिग हाइफन हाइफन ग्लोबल यूजर डॉट नेम, तो आपके टर्मिनल ने क्या एको करा? आपका नेम। So this is what the config command is doing. Basically, you're configuring your username. अभी आप अपना user email भी configure कर सकते हैं ऐसे. So that's what this command is doing. If you have understood this fact, please write a yes in the chat. Please write a yes in the chat so that we can, move forward with it. I hope I did explain it nicely. Okay. I see the chat. Where is the chat? Where are people? Did you leave me? Okay, yeah, yes, Tushar, yes, you can edit the config file after you have configured it once. So yeah, that's also possible. Perfect. Gunjan, over to you.
Okay, so this is the basic thing that we do once we set up our git bash. मतलब git bash इंस्टॉल करने के बाद पहली चीज़ ही हमें ये करनी होती है ताकि हमारे गिट को पता चल जाए दैट जब भी हम किसी फाइल के साथ डील कर रहे हो तो वो हमारा यूज़र नेम और हमारा ईमेल स्टोर कर ले अपने पास, ताकि हमें बाद में कोई और प्रॉब्लम ना हो जब हम अपनी फाइल्स को गिटहब पर पुश कर रहे हो. So pushing just means adding your files from your local PC to the repository that is available on the internet on GitHub, which will be creating. I'll show how to create a repository and doing all those stuff. Okay. So basically, what is a repository? If anyone had a doubt, like seems what is the repository? So repository is just a थिंक ऑफ इट एज अ फोल्डर. एक फोल्डर है जहां पर हमारी सारी फाइल्स जो हमने कोड लिखा है वो स्टोर कर रखी है हमने. वी कुड हैव डिफरेंट रिपोजिटरी फॉर आर डिफरेंट प्रोजेक्ट्स और डिफरेंट codes, like I want to suppose make a project and then I have to add it file and then I have to work on some other projects and I have to add its file. So we can have different repositories on the basis of that. So that's all about repository. Just stores it, not only stores code, we can also store images in that, we can also add links to that. So there are much more we can do while we are in the repository. Okay, so I just stop sharing because I now move to GitHub thing. Okay, fine. So this is the our repository which have been created by us just for the introduction. It contains of all the commands in the README. So README is basically gives the description of a repository. When we have a repository, it README will tell us that what it contains or what is inside the repository. So as a README of this repository, we have listed all the commands for you that you can use while you are using GitHub. uh, Git bash, git terminal. So this is the basic commands. So let us start with initializing a local git repository or cloning a repository. I have a existing repository, so I would like to clone it. Like if we have a repository, okay, so this will give you the basic about if you have an existing repository on the internet. Suppose you have this repository of GDSC IGDTUW, Introduction to Git and GitHub, and you want to add a file to this repository. So how you are gonna do that with this thing? So add I'm just gonna copy this clone code command, and there is a clone option. Clone means to clone this repository to make an exact copy of this repository from this net internet to your local PC. We are firstly going to do it with command line terminal with git bash, and then Pujadi will introduce you to GitHub Desktop that is available over here. So when I am copying it, uh, okay. So I think I'm gonna go over a folder. Okay, so I have a folder open, Git tutorial. So when you have installed Git Bash here, so I have told it will install two things. Firstly, Git GUI, and second thing, Git Bash. And whenever you right click on any folder, it will give you an option to open Git Bash here or Git GUI here. We usually use Git Bash, so we don't use Git GUI much. So I'm gonna open Git Bash here. So this will let me open another terminal. I'll just increase the font size. I hope it's visible.
Yeah, it is. It is.
Okay, so I have copied the URL which with which I can clone the repository. So how we are gonna clone it? So I have command just as we write git for every git command, and we are gonna write clone, and we are gonna paste that link here. Control V would not work here, so either you have to use shift plus insert, or you can right click and paste. So it will let me paste that URL which I have just copied from the repository. Okay, so when I press enter, it will do some processing in the background and it will clone it in the folder I have opened Git Bash. So I'm gonna go through the folder, and here it is, Introduction to Git and GitHub. So it is cloned just now with the simple command I have used on the Git Bash. And you can see that whatever file we have on the internet, these all are visible here as well. Like we have a readme.md and we have a template.md, and it's there in the folder. Now what you can do, like I want to open VS Code here to just make another file. So the option to open VS Code is code dot, and it will automatically open my VS Code here. Like for this folder, it will open my VS Code. So it automatically opens my VS Code, and I have this folder open, which is Introduction to Git and GitHub, and there is a readme.md file and there is a template.md file. So I can go to template.md file. So there are some a template listed for you, like we can use git and then command name, and then we can add our screenshots that we have how we have used this command. Okay, so let's start with some basic things. Like I have, okay, like I want to add a new file here. So I am gonna adding a new file, suppose gunjan.md. Okay, MD is a GitHub extension which is it provides for all the formatting and the basic predefined, like we have .html for HTML files, .doc for Word files, .ppt for presentation files. All the files with the GitHub templating have an extension of .md. Okay, so I'm gonna copy the template here. See, I have done anything, just I have added a file here and it gives me a symbol of U. U means this is unmodified. I have not, I am just making some changes in my local repository. Neither I have staged it nor I have pushed it to my GitHub repository. So this will just give me a template. Like I can add commands here. Suppose I have added git add and git commit here. Okay, so I have just done this, git add and git commit. Now what I want to do, I'm gonna switch to git bash and I'm gonna check my status. Like what is the status of my file, my folder, what I am doing. So it shows me that there are some untracked files, gunjan.md. That means this is not present in the repository जब हमने उसे clone किया था. ये मैंने change किया है. ये मैंने अभी जस्ट चेंज किया है, एंड दिस इज इन रेड बिकॉज आई नीदर एडेड इट टू स्टेजिंग एरिया. मैंने अभी तक इसको स्टेज एरिया पे भी नहीं लेकर आई हूँ, इसलिए ये रेड में शो करेगा. When I add those files, I can add it with a name, like I want to add gunjan.md file to my staging area. So the command for that is git add. And then you can either write the file name, or you can use dot here. So dot means to add all the files, and when I write just a name, it will add a particular file. Okay, so this is very much till now. I'll just add this file, and I will try using a command to add all the files later on. So let's see this first. So git add gunjan.md will add my file to the staging area. When I now check git status, that what is the status of this repository, it will show me my new file in green. What does that mean? Okay, so when I was here, I have neither added my file to staging area. So it shows me gunjan.md in red because I have not added file, and it will give me a advice that use git add file to include in what will be committed. We can't commit without adding file, so that's why it will give me a warning if I want to directly commit it. I'll go to these terminologies one by one. Let's understand git add first. So git add what does it pushes my file to the staging area. My file is now in staging area. It will show me my file in green that yes, you have your files in your staging area, but these changes are still to be committed. When we commit a file, as I've discussed earlier, we push it to the to permanent thing. This is not modified. We have permanently want to create these changes in my local repository. Okay, this command for that is git commit minus m. Just type it. Okay, and we are gonna add it files. Okay, for this statement, I'm telling Git to commit all the files that I have added in my staging area. Commit minus M means all the files that are there in my staging area, which here is only one file. So I in the double quotes, we have to write a message for the commit. Like suppose when we are working with any organization or working on any major project, what we have to do is we have to commit with the message like what changes have you made. लाइक यू हैव टू प्रॉपरली डिस्क्राइब कि तुमने क्या किया है जब तुम ये कमिट कर रहे हो. सो you have to add a description that of the changes that you have performed, like I have added files, or I can say I have added just a file. So I am telling the IGDTU organization through which I have cloned that I am adding just a file to it. So when I press enter, it will permanently store my changes to my repository present in my local computer, like on my local desktop. It will not let me see unmodified now because it's now present, it's now permanently stored in my local repository. So when I now check my git status, it will show me on branch main. You have your branch is ahead of origin main by one commit. This is because I have changed something. From the previous repository that was there on the internet, I have included one file. Like there were only two files, readme.md and template.md. And I've just included a gunjan.md file. So it will give me a message that your branch, like my branch on my local computer, is ahead of origin main by one commit, like the permanent thing that is there on the GitHub. So it is one commit ahead of that branch and nothing to commit, working tree clean. That means there is nothing to commit now. You have already committed all those things that were in the staging area. So my working tree is now clean. So that's the two commands that I have showed till now. If anyone has a doubt, please ask.
Okay. So now there can be two cases. या तो आपको clear है या all clear है. So which one of you are there? Did it actually go into your head? I think Gunjan went really slow, and she explained it in a very nice manner. Probably used some very layman terms as well. So I think everybody was able to understand. If you were able to understand, please put it in the chat. Please put a yes in the chat. Okay, so what does working tree clean mean, Gunjan? Can you please explain it once again?
Yeah, sure. So, working tree is something which I have not introduced this term working tree, but when we were discussing the workflow of Git, it was all about the working tree. Like we have a local repository that is present where we can change. Then we have a staging area, and then we have a Git directory that is the repository after we have committed all the changes. Like if I can explain it to you by a diagram, so that something is about working tree. We have a working directory here, and we have a staging area, and we have a directory. So when I have not made any changes, we were in the working directory. When we had commit a file, we are in the staging area. So staging area is comes up when we have just added our files and we were here. Like we have still changes to be committed, but this file is now in my staging area. And when I commit those uh, changes, we are in the Git directory and Git repository. So this is all about working tree. That means there are no files that are changed. The files that have been changed have been committed, like they have been permanently stored. So when I have committed the file, it will show me working tree clean, that you have no files that have not been saved or committed. So I hope that that clears your doubt.
I think it does. So somebody said that they didn't understand. So I'm just like reiterating through all the commands that Gunjan said. So the first one was git clone. Basically, you are cloning the repository that you created on GitHub to your local machine. Okay, it's just what means what it means in English. It's the same. However, the git word is added that we're telling git to do it. We're telling git to clone it. Then she showed you a command code dot. So it's basically a terminal shortcut to open the VS Code. So you write code dot, that opens the VS Code, and it basically opens the folder in which you're working. So that is a very good shortcut. Like you can directly open the folder that you're there in your terminal into your VS Code. Then we had git add file name or git add dot. So initially when we were telling you about staging area, कि आप जिस फोल्डर में काम कर रहे हैं उसकी फाइल्स को आपको गिट को बताना है कि प्लीज इसे ऑब्जर्व कर ले, तो दैट is done by using this git add file name or git add dot. When you're using git add file name, then आप एक particular file को staging area में डाल रहे हैं. जब आप git add dot यूज कर रहे हैं, तब आप सारी की सारी फाइल्स जो आपके फोल्डर में हैं उनको आप ऐड कर रहे हैं, राइट. देन उसके बाद गुंजन शोड गिट कमिट एम एडेड फाइल्स. ओके, सो अब हम इस स्टेजिंग एरिया वाली जो फाइल्स हैं इनको हम अपनी रिपोजिटरी पे डालना चाहते हैं, राइट. तो हम लिखेंगे गिट कमिट. कमिट के बाद वी राइट डैश एम. सो हम एक हाइफन एम इसको फ्लैग बोलते हैं. यहाँ पर हम एम का मतलब होता है मैसेज. तो आप कमिट करते टाइम क्या मैसेज डाल रहे हैं कि एडेड फाइल्स. दिस इज जस्ट अ मैसेज दैट शी रोट. इट कैन बी एनीथिंग, लाइक यू कैन ऐड न्यू फीचर क्रिएटेड, फीचर का नाम जो भी आपने क्रिएट करा आप उसको डाल सकते हैं, बग फिक्स्ड, इम्प्रूवमेंट मेड, एनीथिंग दैट यू वांट. बट दीज कमिट मैसेजेस हैव टू बी मीनिंगफुल. ऐसे नहीं कि न्यू फाइल एडेड, वन फाइल एडेड, टू फाइल एडेड. लेट्स जस्ट से कि जब आप अपनी टीम में काम कर रहे हैं तो the other people should also understand that what change have you actually made so that they can go and see that particular thing. Okay, so yeah, this is what she told. And one thing that she showed was git status. So git status is nothing but seeing कि क्या क्या चीजें आपके उसमें हो रही हैं. अभी आई थिंक शी ऑल्सो शो द लॉग्स, सो वो आप देख लेना. बाकी या आई थिंक दैट्स क्लियर. गुंजन प्लीज कंटिन्यू.
ओके श्योर. गिट लॉग की पूजा दी ने बात करी है, तो गिट लॉग एक कमांड है दैट लेट्स यू सी ऑल द चेंजेस दैट हैव यू मेड. सो दिस इज द author name, like what is the username of the author that have created this change, his or her email id, the date, it gives you a timestamp, and the message that you have added while you have committed. So git log basically tells you the commits that are all made from these this repository, and who was the author and what have they done. So it is a type of summary or a transact or a timestamp that it creates for every commit that is going on with this repository. so that जब आप project host कर रहे हो, like you are the owner of the project and people are working on it. Like suppose I am the head of a project and I want my team to make changes in that project or make any sort of like development in that project. Someone is changing some component, other one is changing other component, so I want to have a track of all those changes. So I can do just git log and it will give me a list type of thing that this author has committed this change with this email id at this date at this timestamp. So it will, along with the commit message obviously, so it will let me run through the whole process, that what is going on in the repository, what is going on with the project, and what all is going to happen with the things I have put on the internet. And okay, so when these double a colon appears, we have to write q to quit it, to get back to our terminal. So that's all git log do. It gives you a track of all the changes committed by different persons and what are message they have given on the commits they have performed. Okay. Okay, so now there is a basic command that I want to use. So it is these changes are still in my local repository. Like if I check in my folder, it is present. Like gunjan.md is there in my local computer. But when I check on the repository that I have cloned from, I want me to make changes in this and not in my local computer. मुझे तो चाहिए था कि मुझे वो gunjan.md फाइल यहाँ पर देनी है. So मैंने तो सब कर दिया, मैंने ऐड भी कर लिया, मैंने कमिट भी कर लिया. Then ये यहाँ पर क्यों शो नहीं हो रहा? Like why it is restricted to my only my PC, that gunjan.md is showing me here, but not in the um, internet, like not over the repository. So there is another command for that, which lets us to finally ensure that जो भी हमने changes करे हैं वो actually हमें repository में push करने भी है या नहीं. So that command is git push origin and main. Okay, so what I'm gonna do with this command, I am telling git to push the changes, to push my changes to the origin from my branch, which is currently main. Okay, I'll tell you about branches a little later, but just try to understand this much part, that I'm telling it to push my changes to the origin. Origin branch is the branch from where we have cloned our project from. So it refers to this repository when we are using origin. And main is the branch which is there inside these blue brackets. Like I have added my changes to this branch and I want to push my changes to origin from this branch. So when I press enter, it will push my changes from my branch to the one I have cloned from. So it has done all the processing inside, and now on the internet I can see that there. Okay, I need to refresh this, I guess. Okay, so there is now this file appearing on my repository gunjan.md, which I have added 10 minutes ago. So it will now let me see all the changes that I have made. So yeah, so this file from my local PC has been now transferred to this repository when I push the changes. So that's all about git push command. If you have any doubt regarding these two commands, please ask. Pooja Di, are there no doubts?
Yeah, I don't see any doubts. I think that part is clear, so we can move to the next part.
Okay. Okay.
और
So
मैं फिर से गायब होने वाली हूँ, तो गुंजन
okay.
टेक केयर, मैं फिर आ जाऊंगी.
Okay. Di. ठीक है. So like I have told you about origin and main just now, so I let you be more bit clear about that part. Okay, so origin is the branch that we are referring to the repository from where we have cloned, and main or master branch as we call it. Here it is showing me main, and here it was showing me
Gunjan,
master. Yes.
there is one doubt. Tushar asks, why is it showing 10 minutes ago? You have just pushed it. So can you just show the timestamp probably when it
Yes.
was? Yeah, so it shows that the commit was made at 5:39 p.m. So that's why it's showing 10 minutes ago. She was showing it to you, but she made the commit before. So like we were talking and everything. So you also understand कि time का पता नहीं चला हम इतनी अच्छी बातें कर रहे हैं. So that's why it was 10 minutes ago, but it feels like she just did it.
Yes.
Okay, Anushka asks, the M commit thing is when adding files to the staging area or the repository. When we
After the files had been added to staging
मुझे
area.
सुना दे किस बात पे हंस रहा है. Okay, and then somebody asks, can I do it on my phone? मुझे भी सुना दे. No, मम्मी कुछ
Hmm.
you
Hmm.
पूछ रही है, can't do it on your phone. क्या खाएगा
Hmm.
So
Hmm.
रात that's the simple straight answer. Okay, over to you, Gunjan. Am I?
Okay. So we'll now be talking about branches a little bit. What is a branch? Origin, main, what I was talking about. Okay. So when we are working on a project, the project team doesn't want you to commit directly to the main branch. Like I have just did. What I have done, I have cloned this file. I have cloned this file as it is in my repository, and whatever things I have changed, it was directly pushed in the repository. Suppose you are having a project and someone made a commit which you want to review first. Like I have a project and I have a team working with me. So one of them made some changes in that project and she pushed it. So what is gonna do now? The changes have been directly pushed to the repository before I review them. So that's gonna take a little problem for me to judge if any error occurs at any point of time, that what file is causing the error. So I want to review it first and then I want to check if I want to store those changes in my repository or not. I just don't want anyone to let be control. Like if we are working on an operating system, just think like we have the code base of many famous things. Like suppose we take code base of Python. Okay, I have the Python code base available with me, and some random person made any changes in that file and pushed it on the repository. So what will happen now, that the repository will get affected by any kind of errors or any source of thing, and we are not able to recognize from where these errors are coming from. So to handle all of those things, we have something called branches. What a branch means, to create a duplicate copy of everything that is present. Like I have a main repository and I don't want to save my changes here. I want to make a different branch to show my changes. So when I want to like delete, if I make any error, I will just delete the branch simply and I don't have to do any sort of work. Like if there is an error and these file will be present, like I am gonna make another copy without having greater storage. Like if we want to make a copy, you will be thinking that I'm going to replicate a folder. I have this folder now, and then I should make a separate folder for separate doing separate thing, ताकि अगर मुझसे कोई गलती हो तो मैं वो वाला folder second folder delete कर दूंगी. So no, Git provides you an easy way to do that. It provides you the concept of branches. So what does a branch do? It will let me allow me store my changes in some other branch, and it will not take any more storage. Like I am in the same folder, okay, and I am just now create a different branch. So I am gonna create a branch temporary. I'm gonna name my branch a new branch temp. So pressing enter will create this branch. And now if I want to show how many branches are there in my repository, I can simply just let the command git branch. So it is showing me two branches. Main is green because I'm currently in my main branch, and there is another branch existing which is temporary. So what I want to do, I want to go to my temp branch now, and I want to hold my changes there. I want to make changes there, and then I want to push them or store them or whatever I want to do with them. So the command to go to different branches, git checkout branch, okay, my bad, and temp. Okay, so here's a note that I want to address, that if we make any sort of errors with the command, like if I just say it, suppose I have made a spelling mistake here, so Git will throw me an error that this is not a command. Please rewrite your command. So it's very specific, like to write the correct command. Otherwise, you can be like little confused, like what error I have made with the command. Okay, so git checkout branch temp, what this statement means is that I want to check out to my branch temporary. I don't want, no longer want to stay in my main branch, I want to go to my temporary branch. Okay, so when I press enter, to check out, okay, so it switched to my branch temp. So now you can see that it is showing me temp here, and it was showing me main above. What does that mean? That I was in my main branch till now, but now I have moved to my temporary branch. Now I'll show you, अगर किसी को बिल्कुल beginner है तो it will look like a magic to him or her. So I'm gonna add a file here. So I'm gonna make a temporary file, temp.md. Okay, let's just make one more temporary file. Okay, new file, temporary one.md. Okay, so yeah. So what I'm gonna do, I'm just gonna copy these commands, okay, and save it in my file. This one and that one. Okay. So I have made my changes now in temp branch. So when you write git status, it will show me that there are two untracked files right now. Uh, so you need to stage them. Now, what have I discussed before, that we have two commands. Either we can add one file like git add temp.md. So this will add only one file, that is temp.md, to my staging area. This will not add another file. Okay, git add temp.md will just include one file to staging area. See, you can see this. Uh, temp1.md is still untracked, and temp.md is now in my staging area. I just need to commit it and it will be done. So what is the command? If I have made several like changes to several files and I don't want to write one name at a time, again and again, first I'll add temp.md, then I will have to add temp1.md. So the simple command to add all of your files is git add dot. It will add all of your files that have been changed to the staging area. Okay, now we can check git status. So both my files are now in my staging area and they just need to be committed. Okay, but the magic I was talking about, I have made these changes in my temporary branch. Let's check out to my main branch and see. Wait. Okay, that's the same folder I was using, and you can see temp.md and temp1.md here. Okay, so when I just check out to my main branch, what will happen now? Okay, this is showing me that there is temp.md, temp1.md, but when I move to my folder, they are added, so it will show me. If I have not added them, it will not show me the files that are there in my temp branch. Let's again check out to temp branch and just commit those files. Git commit dot temp added temporary files. Okay. Okay, so now if I see git status, so it will show me that I'm on my temporary branch, nothing to commit, working tree clean. Um, okay, so my two files are still showing, temp.md and temp1.md. Let's check out. Okay. Okay, so I have committed those files, but those files are gone now. So what can you expect is going on with my all these things? Where did those files go? Even if I'm in the same folder, I have not changed any folder or not swapped anything. So that's the thing with branches, that when we are saving our changes or making our changes to one file, it gets local to that branch only. Like I have changed in temp branch, so it will stay in temp branch. When I'll move again to my branch temp, it will show me those two files. See? So that's the thing we can use with Git. We can make several branches at a time, and the branching I am taking my branch from, it will make a copy of that branch only. Like it gives me a copy of main, and then I have made some changes, but these changes are local to temp branch only until and unless I'm just gonna merge those things. To merge them, I have to check out in that branch from which I want to merge them. Like I want to merge these changes into main. जो भी चेंजेस मैंने अभी टेम में करे मैं चाहती हूँ कि वो मेरे मेन में हो जाए, लाइक मेन में से ये दो फाइल्स गायब ना हो, वो प्रेजेंट रहे. So what I can do, there is this command git merge, and then we have two things to write in them. So it like git merge, and then I have to merge main and temp. Okay, so what is done now? I have merged two branches. Merge means जो भी changes मैंने temp में किए थे, मैं चाहती हूँ कि वो changes अब मेरे main में भी आ जाए. तो मैंने इन दोनों branch को merge कर दिया क्योंकि मुझे लगा कि ये दोनों branch में जो changes है वो होने चाहिए थे. तो what I have done कि मैंने अब main में ही अपने दोनों temp files को बुला लिया है. मैंने वो दोनों branches merge कर लिया. तो जो भी changes मैंने अपनी temporary branch में किए थे वो अब मेरी main branch में भी reflect हो रहा है. ओके, सो नाउ अ थिंग कि अब मुझे ये फाइल्स चाहिए ही नहीं. मुझे तो टेम्पररी फाइल्स अब अपने मेन में नहीं चाहिए. मुझे चाहिए कि मैं वापस अपने प्रीवियस स्टेट में हो जाऊं जो कि यहाँ पर प्रेजेंट है. मुझे सिर्फ ये 3 फाइल्स चाहिए और मुझे टेम्पररी फाइल्स को रिमूव करना है. सो व्हाट कैन वी डू नाउ कि हमें अगर अपने मेन उस पर वापस जाना होता है तो वी हैव अ कमांड गिट चेकआउट -. Okay, so I have done git checkout -f. I have still committed my changes, so it will not let me check out from that branch. Okay, so it's saying me that you have already committed those files, so it will not let me revert back my changes. Okay. So any doubts till now regarding any of merge commands or any branching commands?
Yes, Gunjan, I've popped up again. There are certain doubts. So one person asks, could you explain why making several branches might be useful?
येस आई कैन टेल दिस. जैसे मैंने अभी बताया था थोड़ी देर पहले, अगर हम किसी प्रोजेक्ट पे वर्क कर रहे हैं तो हमें क्या चाहिए कि हमारे चेंजेस हमारे पास लोकल रहे. कि मुझे अगर कोई एरर आया किसी ब्रांच में तो मैं वो ब्रांच डिलीट कर सकूं, ना कि मैं पूरा मेन डिलीट कर पाऊँ. यू हैव क्लोन्ड अ फोल्डर हेयर जिसके पास सिर्फ 3 चीज़ें थी पहले जब मैंने टेम्पररी फाइल्स एडेड नहीं करी थी. तो मुझे कुछ ऐसे चेंजेस करने थे जो मेरे पास सिर्फ किसी एक ब्रांच में स्टोर रहे. मुझे मैंने 2 फाइल्स चेंज करी बट मैं श्योर नहीं हूँ कि वो कोई एरर क्रिएट करेंगी या नहीं करेंगी. दिस इज अभी बहुत लोकल कि मैं लोकल फाइल्स ऐड कर रही हूँ, लोकल फाइल्स डिलीट कर रही हूँ. बट जब हम प्रोजेक्ट पे वर्क करते हैं या फिर हम जब किसी ऑर्गेनाइजेशन के साथ वर्क करते हैं तो दे वांट कि तुम्हारा जो कोड हो वो एरर प्रूफ हो, ताकि अगर वो कभी मर्ज भी करे तुम्हारा कोड तो इट विल नॉट कॉज एनी एरर टू देयर प्रोजेक्ट और देयर सॉफ्टवेयर विच इज होस्टेड समवेयर ऑनलाइन. अगर काफी लोग उसको यूज कर रहे हैं एंड तुम्हारे एरर की वजह से कुछ दिक्कत होती है तो दैट यू विल बी रिस्पॉन्सिबल फॉर दैट. सो वॉट वी कैन डू कि पहले हम अपना कोड रिव्यू करवा सकते हैं. हम एक ब्रांच पुश कर सकते हैं. सपोज आई डोंट वांट टू पुश मेन हेयर. मैंने कुछ चेंजेस अपनी टेम्पररी ब्रांच में करे एंड दे वांट टू रिव्यू कि मैंने क्या किया. तो व्हाट आई कैन डू इज दैट कि मैं मेन की जगह, सॉरी आई हैव, okay, I want to switch to temp branch. Now what I want to do, that I want to push to origin not my main branch but my temporary branch. So जब मुझे temporary branch push करनी है तो मेरी सिर्फ temporary branch ही push होगी वहां पर और main branch push नहीं होगी. Okay, so it's showing me that you have made a request and now it will show me that temp had recent pushes less than a minute ago. So what is there with branches and main when you are writing code just in the main, तो वो डायरेक्ट पुश हो जाता है. जैसे मैंने अभी थोड़ी देर पहले एग्जांपल लिया था कि अगर कोई प्रोजेक्ट मेंटेनर है, कोई हेड है प्रोजेक्ट का, कोई ओन कर रहा है इस प्रोजेक्ट को, तो वो रिव्यू करना चाहता है कि जो तुम चेंज कर रहे हो वो वैलिड है भी नहीं, उनमें कोई एरर ना हो, उसकी वजह से कोई बग ना आ जाए. तो आई वॉन्ट टू रिव्यू द कोड फर्स्ट. तो तुम क्या करोगे कि तुमने मेन ब्रांच की एक अलग से कॉपी बना लिया एंड देन यू पुश योर चेंजेस विद द हेल्प ऑफ दैट ब्रांच, ताकि तुम लास्ट में कंपेयर कर पाओ और पुल रिक्वेस्ट का मतलब है उसको अपनी मेन ब्रांच के अंदर मर्ज कर पाओ. तो आई कैन सी कि उसने क्या चेंजेस करे हैं. आई एम कंपेयरिंग माई फाइल्स की वो शो करेगा कि जिसने भी ये टेम्पररी ब्रांच को पुश किया उसने 2 फाइल्स चेंज करी जिसमें उन्होंने 22 एडिशन किया और 0 डिलीशन किया. तो इट इज शोइंग मी माई फाइल्स एज वेल एज द कोड. वो मुझे सब शो करेगा ताकि मैं रिव्यू कर पाऊँ कि अगर इसमें कोई एरर तो नहीं है. ये मेरी फाइल्स को किसी तरह हार्म तो नहीं करेगा, कोई एरर तो नहीं देगा, एंड आई वांट टू merge them. Supposingly I am okay with the changes, so you can just create a pull request and the maintainer will okay your pull request, and your code will be merged in the main repository here. But now, for now, it has created two branches with different codes. So this is the basic advantage of creating a branch, that you have everything sorted and separated. ताकि अगर हमें कभी कोई error मिले, या फिर अभी let's suppose a team is working and किसी एक की वजह से error आ गया है. Just a small example, there are two teammates like Pooja Di and I am working on a project. Pooja Di ने कुछ changes किए and मैंने भी कुछ changes करे, एंड मेरे चेंजेस में कुछ एरर है जिसकी वजह से वो प्रोजेक्ट कुछ वार्निंग्स देगा या फिर कॉन्फ्लिक्ट्स हो जाएंगे, जैसे हमने शुरू में मेंशन किया था. तो व्हाट आई एम गोना डू कि पूजा दी भी मेन ब्रांच में कमिट करी और मैंने भी मेन ब्रांच में कमिट कर दिए. सो आफ्टर कमिटिंग टू द मेन ब्रांच, इट इज वेरी डिफिकल्ट टू रिमूव ऑल दोस कोड्स जो मैंने बनाए हुए हैं. Like it is difficult to remove just the things that I have changed and let the things that Pooja di have changed. So for that we have branches, that मेरे ब्रांच मैं अपनी एक अलग ब्रांच पुश करूंगी एंड पूजा दी अपनी एक अलग ब्रांच पुश करेंगी, सो दैट अगर पूजा दी के कोड में कोई एरर नहीं है तो we'll merge that into our project, and मेरे कोड में अगर एरर है तो will not merge that into our project. So our project will be like error free, and we can monitor it more carefully, and we can add or delete changes. Like it will be easy for us to see what is going on with the project and add or delete things if there is any error. So अगर कोई ऐसे डाउट है तो प्लीज.
There is one related doubt. So how to compare two branches? Basically, if two branches have to be compared, so how do we do that?
Okay, so we are not going to compare two branches. GitHub will let us an option to do that. Like GitHub allows us to see the changes that we have made. So when you are saying about comparing two branches, so I'm GitHub is comparing my temporary branch with my main branch. So it will automatically show me that apart from the main branch, what is there in my temporary branch, that I have two changed files with 22 additions and 0 deletions, that I have added these two files apart from the main branch. So it is ultimately gonna compare two branches. Like if there is any more branch that we can, if I want to compare temp with temp, so it will not it will show me there isn't anything to compare because it's the same branch. So it GitHub allows you to compare the changes between two branches. I hope the doubt is clear.
Yeah, I think that was fine. So we can move on.
Okay. Okay, so there's just another thing that I want to show you, that if I want to delete my temporary branch, what is the command for that? I can't delete temporary branch by being in my temporary branch. Like suppose I am there in my temporary branch and मैं उसी को ही delete करना चाहती हूँ, तो that's not possible. We have to first check out to our main branch to delete a branch. Like now I have to delete a branch, like Git branch -t and then my branch name. So what it's gonna do, it will I'm telling it to delete a branch name temp. So it will delete my branch temp, and when I now see how many branches I have, it will only show me I have just main branch, because the temporary branch I have just deleted. Okay, so this is another command that is useful for us, and I think I have covered all the basic commands. So if there is any more doubts that you want to take or you want to explain me, please tell me.
I think, Gunjan, if there are more doubts, you can probably hop onto the chat and stop sharing so that I can. Yeah, Shiro, that's what I was moving on to. I hope I took your name correctly. So you can stop the screen share and I will share it now. So just one second. So I'm going to share my screen. Okay, before I actually start sharing my screen, I just want to let you guys know that whosoever was overwhelmed by the fact that itne commands yaad kaise rakhenge and everything, so it just gets into your muscle memory after you are building projects on Git and GitHub. So it just comes to you. There is this one thing that you can use. I also used that in my initial time when I was starting to work with Git and GitHub. I had a cheat sheet that basically had all the commands that I needed. So Git has a lot of commands, like Sharon just mentioned in the chat, the cherry pick command. Okay, so there are a lot of commands that Git has, but for you, you will be using a certain set of commands. Like you will be, you might need to create a new branch, you might need to work on that branch, you might need to push. Obviously you need to put your whatever you are writing into the staging area. Then you have to commit it. So these basic commands that you are using on a more often basis, I would suggest you to have a cheat sheet and just paste it on your table or whatever. If you have glass on your table, you can probably put it, the paper underneath. So that's something that you can do. There is a Git cheat sheet also. There are a lot of Git cheat sheets available online, so you can check them out as well. Now we're moving on to how you can do it without these commands just by using some particular software. So let me share my screen. Okay. Yeah. Gunjan, is it visible?
Yes, Dee, it's visible.
Okay, cool. So basically, what we're going to be using is a software called GitHub Desktop. So GitHub Desktop looks something like this. I'll just show you. So you can go to desktop.github.com. This is the website, and then you can download it for your particular operating system. It's for Windows or Mac OS or any other operating system that you're using. So GitHub Desktop, you can download that. For the downloading and installation process, there are going to be 7 to 8 steps. So just leave it on default settings, and whatever it asks you to do, just do that. Then after the installation process is completed, it will ask you to sign in. Okay, so simple. You have to download. Say yes to all the steps, leave it to default settings, and then finally log in to your GitHub account. After you're done doing that, so this is something that you will be shown. So currently, okay, so I had just pasted the screenshot in a Word file, so I'll just like let you know what exactly these things are. So you can see at the top that it's showing current repository called Technical Resources 2025. So basically, what this is telling me is that my GitHub Desktop is telling me you are working on a repository which is called Technical Resources. Then it tells me which branch I am on main. Or from CLI, you had to type in a command to see in which branch you are. But here it is visible right here. Then there's this third thing called fetch origin. So this is something that I want to explain to you guys. So what happens is that when you're working on a project, before pushing your changes, it's a very good practice to fetch the origin. सो वॉट इट डज इज कि अगर किसी और ने आपसे पहले कमिट कर रखा होगा तो वो वाले चेंजेस आपकी लोकल रिपोजिटरी में भी रिफ्लेक्ट हो जाएंगे. So always you have to first fetch origin, and then you have to move on to committing and pushing your changes. Okay, now I'm going back to my GitHub Desktop. Since like these 3 parts are explained, I just like put it there because I thought it wouldn't be visible properly. So what's happening is I had made some changes in the file. So the changes that you're seeing in the green part, that those are the changes that I added. So this is something that I added, and the things that you see in highlighted with red, these are the changes that. So these are basically everything that I have deleted. The green ones are adding. Sorry, and the red ones are something that you have deleted. All right. So as you can see in the left section, so basically this entire thing, it just shows you in a more graphical user format rather than you have to type in all the commands and see it. So there is this one changed file. So one changed file, it's called index.html. You can, again, you could have seen it from the commands that Gunjan mentioned. So here, like in this small box right here, so you remember the command git commit m, then in double quotes you write some message. So rather than doing git commit m, write some messages, I will be writing my message over here. So let's say that it's update index.html. I can write a description as well. However, I'm not doing it right now. Then the small button right here tells me to commit it to main. Okay, so that's what I'm going to do. So I'll just click that. and it's now committed to main. Now after I have committed, it basically walks you through the entire process. You don't have to actually do anything, remember anything again. It is going to be instilled in your muscle memory. But this is a very, very, very good software for students who are just beginning to use Git and GitHub, and they are not able to memorize those commands and everything. So now you can push the origin, just like, again, click the button. That's all you have to do. No commands, nothing, just click the button, and then it's done. So now there are three options. So you can open the repository in your external editor. You can set it up on your own. I have it Visual Studio Code because I use that particular id really often. Then you can view the files in Explorer means जो आपका file manager होता है, that is Explorer. Then you can open the repository page on GitHub in your browser. So I'll just like open it on GitHub. One second. So here it is. And as you can see that 1 minute ago, I had made a comment. So again, the entire same thing that Gunjan mentioned, we were able to do it from here as well. Now, we understood that ye karna kaisa tha, how do you push it, how after the changes are made, how do you commit it. For cloning some particular repository, it's again very easy. Although I think most of them set up on my GitHub desktop. I think if there is some repository I do not have, then probably I can show it to you how to do that. Okay, I probably need to go like a little down, I guess. Okay, let's just say I don't think that this repository was there. So yeah, when I click on this code button, I can directly click open with GitHub Desktop. So that's how you use the repositories from the web GitHub interface that you see, and take them directly to your GitHub Desktop. So I'll open it with GitHub Desktop. Yeah, I'll allow it. So let me just ignore it. Okay, yeah, it was already there, but you understood. So like when you will click on, let me just go back to my Google over here. Yeah. So when you will click on code, and then when you click on open with GitHub Desktop, it will essentially take the repository and then put it to your GitHub Desktop, and then it will ask the other steps you have to do. So one step that GitHub Desktop asks whenever you are working with a new repository is that it asks if it's a fork. Okay, so Gunjan, did we explain fork to them?
We explained clone to them, so it's
Okay, so
I guess
let's
it's
let's let's not go towards that, because again it will be like a blast of information if I start explaining what a fork is. So for now, what you have to understand is that if there is a repository, you can use it. You can put it to your local system by two methods. One, by the method that Gunjan showed you, the CLI method. The other, the GitHub Desktop. Again, very simple. You have to just click buttons, and then GitHub Desktop will walk you through the entire procedure. You just have to worry about changing your files. So yeah, that's about it. If there are any doubts regarding GitHub Desktop in particular, do ask. I made sure that I only conveyed what was required. Okay, I think Gunjan, you should probably take up this question. If GitHub is this easy, why do we still use Git?
okay. So GitHub is very easy if you want to use it just in the desktop manner. Like we just have to add some things, but using a command line interface gives you more hold about the things you are gonna do. Like there are just those commands which you don't have even to learn. Like you don't have to memorize everything. You just have a long cheat sheet available on the internet, and you just have to go through these things to just play around with these commands when we are using desktop version. So like when I don't do it I personally don't use with the desktop version, but I do like make changes from the uh, I said browser itself. So that will take me some time to like store all the changes. Like if I have added a file, so it is gonna make a lot more things that I need to think of, that I have to push this file and not this file. So it's a little easy for me to use the CLI once I get familiar with it. So it's not about that what is easy and what's not. I think it's more about what you are familiar easily with. So that's the answer to that question.
Right. So Shirod asked, how do you merge branches from GitHub Desktop? So while Gunjan was answering the question, I'll just tell you what I did. So let me share my screen once again. Yeah, it's visible. So what I did was I just created a new branch from here. I created a new branch. Let me just create one. Yeah, let me just create a new branch. I'm so sorry. Being a designer, it's just like it's the you final version. Okay, so I created a new branch. Then I published this branch. Okay, I will be publishing this branch. It's publishing. It's publishing. Yeah. Now it asks me to create a pull request from your current branch. Again, what we were doing before in the command line terminal, it is doing the same thing. It's walking you through it. So it basically gives you a description as well for all the people who are beginning with it. The current branch is already published to GitHub. Create a pull request to propose and collaborate on your changes. So again, when I create a pull request over here, then I can directly go to GitHub, and then from there I can see what changes are there, and what conflicts are arising, and then if I have to merge it or not. So the entire same procedure that Gunjan walked you through, and this is how you do it. So yeah, I hope that answers your question. Thank you, Sharod. Thank you. Really. Yeah. Okay. So I think that was all that we had for you guys today. If there are still any doubts, we would ask you to please drop it in the comment section, and somebody from our team will answer them. If you liked the session, then parallelogram. I think my mom is also a teacher, so she is teaching some kids parallelograms. I don't know in which class they are, probably sixth or seventh. So yeah, that's something. Thank you for noticing. We had Mixie and my mom as the what do you call it, the collaborators for this GitHub session. So huge round of applause to them as well. So I hope you all enjoyed the session. If you did, we would really appreciate you putting a yes or a clap or some emojis for us in the chat. I love pandas, by the way. So yeah. If you do have any doubts, please put it in the comment section. Somebody from our team will be answering them. Amazing. I really like this, session and feedback, Gunjan, It just gives me more confidence to go and create another session for them. So yeah. Also, yes, that reminds me. If you want us to conduct some other session, if you want GDSC to take up any other technical session that you want, you can again put a request in the comment section. If you have the means to reaching out to us, you can directly tag our GDSC lead, Vani. You can tag me. You can tag Kunchan. Anybody from GDSC IGDTUW, you can ask them, and we'll definitely bring it for you. Okay. Thank you so much, everybody. You were a lovely audience, and yeah, have a good day. Bye bye.
Bye bye.